What up, y'all? This is Erkan signing into another Gaming Thoughts with Z. This is a little segment I do after completion of every newer game that I play, where I talk about the game and give my own personal thoughts and opinions about the game. And this one, for me, is a very special one because this is Persona 3 Reload, part of the Persona franchise, which is also essentially part of the whole Megumi Tensei spin-off franchise, or it's a spin-off to the Megumi Tensei series, and it's a very special one to me because I'll get into it. I'll get into it a little bit. Essentially, so what is this game? What is Persona? Persona is essentially a slice of life mixed with deep combat mechanics. You essentially go throughout you essentially play as the main character, where you go throughout the entirety of your day. Days essentially building friendships, building socials, upping your character statistics, such as like your courage, your intelligence, and stuff like that. So basically, this is a JRPG. And then at night, you go through a form of the Shadowverse, and in this case, a place called Tartarus. Slight spoilers, but anyways, and the whole story does essentially revolve around Tartarus itself. And you go through the Tartarus, essentially combating creatures called shadows with you and your companions, and you combat them with powers that you can summon called personas, or essentially personifications of mythological and religious creatures and beings from all variations of stories and myths and religions. It really almost no bounds. And each of them has their own aspects of certain elements and types and what they're good at and what they're not. And you play as the main character, but unlike your companions, you can actually summon multiple personas instead of just one. And it's a very deep, very dark story. At least it can get pretty dark. And you essentially go throughout the entire school year, Japanese school year, which is essentially from March all the way through April. No, March all the way through essentially February, so to speak. And you go through the entirety of the year, live out your school days, basically kind of sort of like a normal student, but also building social links to essentially empower you and your personas. Now, Persona 3 Reload, it's a new-ish game because it is actually a remake of Persona 3, which actually came out in 2009, I would like to say, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I myself did not play Persona 3 until late in the game. I'm actually late to the Persona series in general. I started with the original Persona 5, then I played Persona 4 Golden when it came out on the PC, and then Persona 3 Portable when it too also came out on the PC last year, 2023. So I was pretty late to the game. Now, I personally really loved the Persona series. 5 was my all-time favorite until I played 3. 3 was really... It had a much darker tone to the series. And what I didn't know was Persona 3 actually came out in different variations throughout a couple of years, 2 to 3 years. And I played the portable version, which originally came out on the PlayStation Portable. And unfortunately, it was in visual novel aspect. Essentially, there was no cutscenes it was just static pictures. And all the animation that was in the game was basically when you were running around through Tartarus. Other than that, everything was just static pictures and primarily point to click. Made the game go a little bit quicker. However, there were a lot of things that I really liked about the game. The story mostly, the combat, the aspects of the game. I actually really loved Persona 3 far more than I did Persona 5, and I really liked Persona 5. However, there were aspects in the game that I did not care for, such as the stamina system. Basically, you go through Tartarus, and your companions, not you, your companions would actually get tired. And so you would have to switch them out for other companions until they get tired, or your other companions that you're essentially primarying would recuperate. And along with also adding in a sort of a health system for your character where he could get sick throughout. It was a random chance that he could get sick throughout the days. And it really made things very tedious on trying to complete a lot of social links. Now, also the voice acting it had a mixture of great voice acting, also a little bit eerie voice acting for modern times, like our time at this point in time. A little bit eerie on the ears. Reload took all of that and basically took a lot of the mechanics that everybody in the fandom disliked and threw it out the window. And just said, I'm done with it. They got rid of the sick system. They got rid of the stamina fatigue system. And they implemented some other stuff. They redid the music. It's the same music, but redone in more modern style. Absolutely love it. Music is fantastic. They redid the animations, the graphics. It's basically a complete remake, including new voice actors. But they also actually even implemented a lot of the old voice actors from the original game into background characters. And if you play the original Persona 3, you'll actually recognize some of their voices. If not, then that's okay. Going through the game, after playing Persona 3 Portable, I will say, was a far different experience. It felt very much like a completely different game, while also being the exact same game. The story, the story was completely the same. They did add a lot of other new mechanics, some social links that normally were there with the later on Persona series, like social links with all your companions. They didn't have that. It was only with a few companions. And then they mixed it up with essentially the Fez version, which is one that allows you to play as a female protagonist. That unfortunately, that aspect of the game unfortunately wasn't in the remake. I don't know if they're going to be doing that as a DLC or not. However, I'm fine with that. They did add sort of a social link aspect to the characters that you don't really have a social link with, such as called linked episodes, and they were pretty good. Of course, you had to limit yourself because you do have a limited amount of time to essentially max everything out, because all the days, all the events, because it is sort of a time management game as well. Outside of Tartarus, it is time management, because you do need to plan out what you're going to do for a after school slot and an evening slot. And you got to figure out what are you going to do here and what are you going to do here, because when you do an event, it takes up that slot and it moves on to the next. So you really did have to plan out a lot of stuff. I when I played all the Personas, I never once actually maxed out any of the social links before. At least not the first go around. This time, I made it my mission to do so, and it was still a blast. A little bit more tedious, but I still had an absolute blast. I did screw some things up, but I still managed to cut the deadline for social link maxing close. As for the game, that is probably one of my biggest gripes with the game is they do take off a lot of time for you to be able to increase social links, which is very unfortunate. Because there was definitely times where I wanted to up a social link, but I wasn't able to, even though I had plenty of time to do it. However, due to like certain events, like story scenes, stuff like that, it can get tedious to try and get all that done. I do not suggest you try and max everything out on your first playthrough. I suggest you actually just play the game as you so wish. Just have fun with it. It is a very fun game, a very deep game. Now, granted, the story does take a little bit to pick up. It does. Just a little bit. But when it picks up, it picks up. And now, there were a lot of dark aspects in the original game. And I myself wasn't sure how they were going to implement that, whether they were going to like cut down on it or just completely kind of almost get rid of it entirely. No, they actually doubled down on it. It gets pretty dark. It gets, yeah. That's probably a really good term for it, yeah. I do say that a lot, but I do apologize. But hey, that's kind of how I see it. It gets pretty dark, but when the story picks up, it picks up, and then you start really moving along. This, I will have to say, is by far my favorite. Persona 3 Reload is by far my favorite of the Persona games that I've played. I still have yet to play Persona 5 Royal and some of the offshoot games to it. I have yet to play any of the apparently the Ultimax or essentially the side-scroller fighting games that they came out with, or even the dance. Not interested in those. Maybe the Persona Strikers and stuff like that. I might try at a later date. But as of for right now, I just want to stick with the primary the main Persona games. And this one by far definitely is my favorite one of the three. There is a Persona 1 and a 2 in their variations. I have never played them. Supposedly, them and 4 is getting a remake, and I will definitely be playing them if they do get a remake. But as for this game, if you are interested in playing this game, give it a try. Go for it. Absolutely go for it. And now it does take the game is a long game. I finished mine roughly around 125 hours. So be wary that if you're not interested in taking that long of a game, this may not be for you. However, if you're interested in at least trying it out and seeing how you like it, go for it. I feel, from my personal opinion, it is very worth it. Now, will this game for me be my game of the year? Well, it's way too early to tell because there's plenty of games still come out this year, and I don't exactly like actually doing that. I did that kind of stuff in the past, and and then I thought to myself, probably not something I should do. However, this is so far my favorite game that has came out this year, and I do hope that if you're even the slightest bit interested in it, give it a try. Other than that, thank you for watching this little segment. Hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, I'll see y'all in the next one. Stay active, stay connected. This is Zircon, signing out. Bye, y'all.